everybody. I'm Michael.
I'm Carter.
Welcome to the first episode of Hammercircuit, where we talk about philosophy, life, business, all that stuff.
Yeah, news, current events, all those sorts of things.
Right.
Diet and health as well.
Yes, right.
Education.
And culture.
And culture. Anything controversial to piss people off. That's really what we're going for right now. Are we allowed to use naughty words?
It's the internet, so yeah.
Okay, I think we're allowed to use naughty words. I just want to double check in case we're trying to keep this PG. I don't want to be like, son of a bitch. And then they get angry or whatever.
No, I mean, if a little kid was listening to this, their brain might melt, so
I don't think they could comprehend some of the things that we talk about.
Unless they were like a child prodigy or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It depends.
It depends. With the internet now, it's really surprising what some kids are actually learning.
Yeah, you're on YouTube. There's like 12-year-olds like doing computer tutorials on this is how you set up a Minecraft server, or this is how you set up a DDoS client or something.
And then there's some of those kids that are 6 years old and they're piano project.
Oh yeah.
How do we pronounce that? There's this one kid I saw. He's playing the Turkish March, and he's 6 years old, I believe. His hands aren't even big enough to play octaves. He's playing the Turkish March, and meanwhile I'm trying to learn the Turkish March. And, man, I'm jealous. But the point is that people can learn at a young age. So do we have a specific plan besides that this is going to be a tutorial? Or not tutorial. You just got me hooked up with a Minecraft tutorial. But do we have a specific plan that this is going to be a pilot, of course, but do we have an agenda that we want to cover?
So today's agenda for this pilot, we're just going to introduce ourselves just a little bit beyond our names, and then we're gonna just work off some just a common example of something we might talk about,
right.
And for this pilot we'll just talk about how society has changed with the invention of new technology and just the turn of the 21st century and stuff. I think that's just a good one to start off with.
Yeah, it's also not too controversial. You said this off. It's not camera, but off audio, I guess I should say. You said this, but it's meant to be interesting, but not really controversial.
Right.
That's supposed to spark up anything to where there's people getting upset on the other end.
Yeah, we'll look at both sides of the argument and if anybody thinks that we're being a little bit biased or anything, they're free to comment about it.
Right. But of course, they need to also know that who we are to understand where we're coming from.
Right.
So, would you like to just explain the history of us in Mr. Young's class and such?
All right. Well, so my name's Michael, as I said before. Both my parents are immigrants. One is from Azerbaijan, and then she moved over to Russia, and then she finally moved over to the United States. My father, he's from Belarus. He also moved over to the United States, so a lot of Russian Slavic blood in me. And additionally to that, there's a little bit of Armenian because my mom was from Azerbaijan, and then a little bit of Jewish stuff from my grandfather. I am a really interested person. I'm really interested in technology and stuff. I'm a software engineer. I like building stuff, and hopefully I'll actually be able to get a sustainable job from that. What else? I started doing programming tech stuff when I was 10, so.
Advertise Emoji Log, Michael.
Oh yeah, Emoji Log, Ever feeling down, sad in class? Why not try Emoji Log? Just spam that sad button. We'll make sure to have a video of an example of someone who's extremely sad and how the Emoji Log will help relieve their feelings. But, so that's me. I'm a programmer, software engineer thing. And I'm currently a high school student, same as Carter. We're in our second year right now.
Yeah.
And we had the idea for this podcast in our personal finance class, and big shout out to Mr. Young. He's our business teacher. He's a really cool dude. So
yeah, just to vouch for Michael a little bit more, because people often hear computer hacker or programmer and such, and you always get those 12-year-old kids. I know we just spent a while talking about how amazing some 12-year-olds are, but let's face it, most 12-year-olds saying that they're hackers are playing Minecraft on Xbox, eating Doritos, drinking Mountain Dew, right? So there's a misconception about when you say hacker, it's just, oh, he's just saying that. No, I can really confirm that Michael, I'm not going to, hacker is an improper term to use to describe Michael. Computer programmer. Hacker is just kind of one of those slang words that we use just to...
It's a derogatory term.
Yeah, it's a
nowadays.
Derogatory term. We also call him like the wizard and joke around a little bit with him about that, like the hacking was. We just filmed something where Michael's wearing wizard robes and he's just like pounding the keyboard furiously, typing, right? But I can really vouch for him and say, not just from like being a friend and saying, oh yeah, he's my friend, he's really good at computer programming. No, I can objectively say that he's good at computer programming. Always in personal finance class, I look over at his computer screen, and he has computer coding up and down the right side of it, and then his schoolwork on the left side of the computer. We were playing Kahoot, all right, and this is hilarious. He like got one problem wrong, and he pulled up all of his coding on the right and started furiously typing, furiously typing, and he's changing the colors, the code, and everything, and he's changing his score in Kahoot to like 10,000. He's changing the colors to where he got it right. He's changing the X mark to a check mark.
Yeah, I was trying to make it look like I got it right, so...
Yeah.
So I could like call over the teacher or something, and I'll be like, wait, but I got this right, and it didn't count for some reason.
Yeah, that's just Michael right there. He's always involved with computer, and it's all self-taught. It's not like he took classes from somewhere. Like, an overwhelming majority of it's self-taught. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, like, I started learning when I was 10. I got my first laptop that age, and then my dad's also, like, a software engineer, so he gave me a book, and I was like, hey, this is cool. So, like, at first I was, like, interested in Legos, and then I got interested in computers after that, and I was like, wait, I can build stuff, like, way faster on the computer than I can do on the Legos. So, I mean, I just, like, I like building stuff. No matter, I mean, and it doesn't really matter how I build it. It's just, like, computers typing furiously on the computer to solve a problem. That it's interesting to me, and there's, like, a little bit of a fluidity to it, so I like it.
Right.
Carter, so what's your, like general synopsis history type of thing?
All right, so the real way that I'm just going to describe myself, obviously I'm a high school student. Michael explained that already. I'm in his personal finance class. We were both sophomores as of now, almost juniors.
Yeah, we're about to graduate.
Yeah,
so.
That's going to be great. Also, I got a reward, or an award. I don't even know.
For the honor ceremony?
Yeah, I don't know where to go or anything for that. We can talk about that later, though.
Okay.
But just to introduce myself a little bit, I come from a history. As far as my parents go, my parents aren't direct immigrants, but my grandparents, however, and my great-grandparents are immigrants from Germany. Now, just to give like a little background, we figured this out very interestingly. My aunt took a DNA test, and it came back and said, yo, you're Jewish. But the issue with that was, we know for a fact that we came from Germany because we could, at that point, still talk to our grandparents that actually came from Germany. And they're like, yeah, I came from Germany. And they fled in 1933, literally a few months right before Adolf Hitler became the chancellor. So, good news. We later put two and two together and figured out that we were Ashkenazi Jews, which is just a jazzed up term for saying a German Jew. And he fled specifically because he just feared anti-Semitism in Germany. So that's as far as like family background goes, you know, because you mentioned that you have the Russian background, Slavic background and such. As far as like my history that goes, pretty much goes back into building, construction, and just having an overall general interest in putting things together and figuring out machines. Now, where I differ from Michael a little bit is that he really likes computers and computer programming. That's not specifically like where I found my interest. I found it in actually like, you know, actual physical, not saying like what Michael doesn't do.
So he's like more the hardware guy, and I'm more like the software guy.
Yeah, and I do things like blacksmithing. I made my own forge in my backyard. I have an anvil. I do things with that all the time. Next year I'm going to, actually, should I even say the school I'm going to?
Just say it's like a specialty school.
It's a specialty school, not for special ed kids, by the way, for smart kids. But I have to make the separation because if I say a special school, special is like a synonym.
Just say, I mean, just craft school, I guess.
Right, it's just a craft school, and a lot of It's a school where they basically just teach you how to engineer. They teach you how to use 3D printers there. They teach you how mechanics work. They teach you how everything works in that field and really how to put things together. We were talking to some of the students that graduated, because there's like a few there that already graduated the school, but they just came back to talk to people. Well, they're working at NASA, working at Boeing, they're working at all these companies that involve the mechanics and such. And I know a few people through my, I also do martial arts. I know it sounds like really bad, you know, I'm not putting this together too well.
No, it's fun. Mine was like, I felt mine was segmented, so.
Right. But I do martial arts as well, and one of the people at martial arts is, he works at Boeing. I'm not going to drop names, but he knows things that if he were to reveal them or tell me, he would go to jail. Like, he's that level. So I'm talking to him, he's like, hey, when are you going to tell me about the Nazi moon base? When are you going to tell me about how the moon landing was faked? By the way, I don't believe in those things now. There's Michael. We were just joking around about that. And I mess with him like that. And he says, oh, I'm not allowed to tell you anything. Nothing about my work. But he did tell me one thing. The engineers make more money than him. Which is very interesting to me. It's very interesting because he's actually creating the blueprints or whatever he's doing. He's doing something so high up there that if he were to tell me about it, he would go to prison. But the people that are just building the parts and putting the thing together are making more money than him.
Maybe building the actual thing is a little bit more high risk than actually designing it, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. The risk factor is probably a part of the pay, I'd imagine. Then again,
But usually it's just incorporated and you get like a little bit of like the insurance or whatever.
Yeah, or the benefits. Benefits, it depends on the job because my mom, she works at Wash U, and really she makes money, like not money, not like I can bathe in a bathtub full of $100 bills, not that type of money, but she makes like obviously a good chunk of money. But a lot of the reason why she chose to work at Wash U was strictly because of the benefits. Like in her 401k, Wash U decides to pitch in 10% of whatever you put in. So if you put in $100, they'll put in $10, which is really good for a 401k. Usually it's 5% or lower. She got 10% with Wash U.
Nice.
Which is really good. So yeah, it's all about me, really. I just like to put things together and build things, and I'm really starting to find ways in life of how to start implementing that into my career.
Yeah, I mean, I used to, and like, I also have a little bit of a hardware aspect, but it's still computer related, it's like electronics and stuff, and like, I've kind of like drifted away from that, and I'm maybe thinking about getting back into it again with like the soldering and stuff, but it's still a lot different than like the metalworking and stuff that Carter does, but like, it's just like, it's like an art form. There's like the hard artists and stuff, but like the stuff that we're doing, I would still consider it art. You know, you have to plan it. You have to figure out, where you want to put things, and like, you can elicit different responses from people. So people use it. Like, there's practical art, and then there's like viewing art, I guess.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. There's
like
the
an
visual art,
uh-huh.
And then there's the art that you're talking about, which is like, you're going to put it to use. It's, I guess...
Like, you can build a lamp that serves its purpose, but then you can also build a lamp that looks nice and also serves its purpose. So... It's
kind of putting one and two together, which brings in an idea. This is something... And this is another reason why Michael and I collaborate well with one another on projects. It's because we have similar viewpoints as far as philosophy goes, but as far as like our backgrounds and as far as like our actual like professions or job fields that we are going into, they're not the same. They're not like directly related to one another, right?
Like they differ, but there's still like some underlying similarities. Mm-hmm. Like the general thought process might be like, some stuff might be similar, but like they still differ by quite a bit. Like I'm not heating up anything, or I'm not like hitting, like I'm not actually doing any like physical work when it comes to it or anything.
Right, and like I think the job field I'm eventually going into, like for the training course, the first year is just learning how to make it with lathes and the actual tools.
Mm-hmm.
The next year is learning how to get a laptop, type up your blueprints that you just put in paper into the laptop,
Mm-hmm.
then downloading those blueprints into a machine, and then the machine does everything for you, which is really cool. And you could actually probably help me out with that a little
Yeah,
bit.
I think I took a course on that.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, but the thing is both of these professions, they both require like creative problem solving.
Exactly, and that's like the silver lining connecting Michael's ideas to my ideas, and we could put one and two together to create different things that turn out amazing. Like just an idea. You said you're into all the computer programming and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then eventually I'm going to learn how to put together professional blueprints and actually construct parts and such. Well, if we could put the two together, if Michael has, it would be like this. If we could come up with an idea with one another, Michael could potentially figure out the technology aspect of it, or whatever part that he needs to figure out, and then I could produce the actual parts, and then we could together put it together, and then Michael can work on the technology bits, and any engineering bit could be done by me. So it's the idea that we could collaborate to put things together, which is really what, and this kind of relates to what we originally wanted to talk about, how technology has changed us culturally throughout the years have gone. Are we going to talk about 21st century? Of course we're going to talk about the 21st century, but are we going to talk about from like the 19th century up until now, or how far are we willing to go back when we're actually talking about that?
I mean, I guess we can also. So Industrial Revolution was like what, 1765?
I think so.
So I think we can go that as far back, but I want to. But like we're starting from like now, and then we're gonna like go back like from there. So I mean, so like I get as that transitions to what we like our second part of our agenda. So like I mean, I can still imagine like I don't know, like 10, 20 years ago, I would still find something to do even if it wasn't computer related. I mean I would either some sort of engineering job that required like, you know, designing bridges or something like something a lot more like specific like astrophysics science. I mean, like even NASA still interests me, like even though I wouldn't be able to like design the rocket parts per se, I still think that like the rovers and stuff is like super cool. So
yeah, and it's just like you have the interest in that stuff, but it's just like not exactly what you are digging your hands into, because obviously you can't. You have two hands, and there's like a million things you could dig your hands into.
Like I could take my hands out of computer programming and I could stick them into something. I could even stick them probably back into electronics or metalworking, but like specifically in high school, like you have like a limited amount of free time. You have all these. You have the high school BS education thing. Like, I mean, specifically American education, you can always find something to call BS on, but like you only have a limited amount of free time to do stuff. So you can only choose like one or like at least maybe one or two things like really be good at.
Yeah, and then once you get older and you leave the education system, that's when you actually have to dig your hands into whatever. And it's kind of like pray you dug your hands into what you enjoy or what you're going to be good at, because if you don't, it's hard to switch your professions once you're 30 or you're actually in the real world. Because then it's like your parents are there to support you once you're young and you need to dig your hands into something. But if you're 30 or so, you can't go back to mommy and daddy. Mommy and daddy are in wheelchairs by the time you're 30.
Yeah.
Some depends on how old your parents are, of course. My parents they're not going to be in wheelchairs, but they're going to be old by that time. But it brings up the idea, Michael and I are really in a in a period where technology has really brought us together, and and even if it's different fields, like Michael said, he's interested in a bunch of different fields, but he hasn't like dug his hands into all the other fields. He's only really dug them in. He's like keeping them into computers, because that's where Michael is interested the most, and he's getting really good at it. But what's interesting with technology, and what I see a lot with the 21st century, it's starting to bring all the fields together. It's almost like they're not even different fields at this point. They're the same, because, well, of course they're different fields, but you know what I'm trying to say, right? It's technology's tying it all together in a hive-minded way.
Well, I mean, you're having scientists who are like, you're having you're having scientists who are like also learning programming to like better analyze their data and stuff. Like, I mean, and I mean, a good example of this is like in cancer research. You know, I mean, with cancer cells, like the DNA mutates so much and stuff that like when there's a cancer treatment, usually you have to go through a lot of like you have to through multiple rounds of drug therapy, and the hope is that with computer programming and like maybe I think machine learning it was you could find like the underlying pattern of like the randomness or something where you can kind of anticipate what drugs would most effectively like just kill that virus. I mean,
Right.
kill the cancer and stuff. And like because like the more drugs you put into the system, the worse your immune system is gonna get because all those I mean those drugs
you
are
can see it, the people deteriorate. Like
right.
if you ever watched Breaking Bad, Walter White goes after his chemotherapy, he loses his hair. Well, he shaves his head in the series, but you just deteriorate. You turn into like a withered person.
Like those drugs are designed to like target cancer cells, but like I mean, there's not much there. I mean, there's not many things that like those drugs are still gonna kill regular cells as well sometimes. So
Right.
you want to get through that process as quick as possible to
And effectively.
so that way you don't get that way you minimize the amount of damage that you
Exactly.
do.
And it brings up the point with all the different fields. Yes, they are different fields, but in a way, with technology, it's starting to bring them all together to collaborate on these projects. Because what we found is if you keep one field, it's going to be hard for me to think of an example, but if you have one field on the job, typically it almost gets into like a tunnel vision mindset and some things just don't get solved. But then if you get all the other fields coming together, it can bring in new viewpoints, it can bring in different technologies, it can bring difference, which could lead to better solutions or more solutions.
I mean, I guess the best way to sum that the best reason why that is that I mean, different fields have always been like communicating with each other. I mean, if not, then you wouldn't have like an engineer or something or a farmer like be able to tell another person like, hey, you know, it would be great. Like, I mean, it's almost as if like you kind of have to at first, you know, some people had to be good at a couple things and then let those things flow inside their heads, like come up with it. Like, I mean, how are you going to invent the plow? You kind of have to you have to kind of deal with that problem yourself or see other people have that problem. But like basically the thing with technology now is that people who have problems in China because of the internet and stuff. I mean, even though that China has like some censorship laws with regarding the internet, a person in China can work with a scientist in like America and stuff. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a general example. I don't really know what stuff would go into that, but like, so I mean, key point from 20th century to 21st century is the rise in like networked communication.
Yeah, because what you're getting at here is you're getting at the fact that all these different job fields and people, it's like they've been coming together and collaborating since the very beginning of like humans just organizing. Like the farmer would have to be like, hey, I need a new saddle for my horse so I could whatever. Like I need a new tool or I need to do this. So you have to talk to the blacksmith, and the blacksmith has to talk to the people who are cutting down trees to get charcoal. And then the people cutting down the trees need to talk to the blacksmith to get new axes. People network together from the very beginning in different job fields. But what you're getting at here is that over time it's been connecting and changing.
The communication overhead has, or the time it takes to get a message across has been minimized. Some repercussions of that is that there can be information influx and like you won't be able to tell what's real news or like real info versus fake info.
News.
Fake news, yeah.
Yeah.
So like I mean
that's the thing that people are
like it's an actual thing, and then you have to deal with like if you want to get some good information, like you either have to be subscribed to like a really reputable like news site or like scientific journal, or you just have to figure out how to best filter out the clickbaity stuff from the actual useful things.
Yeah, that really is a challenge because, like you said, there's negatives that come with it. In the past, it was just different job fields have to talk face to face to communicate. Now with technology coming around, you could literally Skype the different people from all across the world and to communicate with one another. So it's a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
And also just the very nature of the job industries have changed as well. Like you could think of blacksmithing. Blacksmithing is pretty much dead now unless you're doing it as like a hobby, like how I do it. It's pretty much dead as in a practical thing because there's just no way we're producing our tools through actually like taking a piece of metal, heating it up, bringing it over to the anvil, and then pounding it out with a hammer. So, and it's not just with blacksmithing, it's with a bunch of different industries, from medicine. It went from like the Renaissance doctors or whatever, putting on their crow masks with like the herbs and the big beak part of like the mask. You know what I'm talking about, right? For the bubonic plague and such. Renaissance is before the bubonic plague, and then they're like putting leeches on you to suck out the pus from your boils. So like medicine has changed in that sense. Technology's changed as far as blacksmithing. And what's really interesting about computers, and you can say this because you're experienced in it, they kind of cropped up out of nowhere in a sense.
Well, they cropped out of a necessity to historically the first theoretical computer was like around was with Ada Lovelace and the some computation engine with like some other guy. I don't remember the name, but Ada Lovelace is credited, which is a female. So just saying, like, even though that people think that programmers is just like it's like a male dominated thing, it's really weird because like that was kind of a thing that I guess like the corporations it just got forced onto us because like the first the first programmer was actually a girl and most like the most old computers were like it was like female programmers, which was really interesting.
So the grandfather of these computers is actually a grandmother.
Well, like a grandfather. Well, I guess, but like
it's not a founding father; it's a founding mother.
Yeah. I mean, there's multiple founders, but so first Ada Lovelace, who was like the first programmer, and then the first person to like come up with like some computational theory was additional one. I mean, the most credited one of the most credited ones is Alan Turing.
Yeah, we can look it up. Like we have Google.
Right. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And then that was during World War II, and that was because Germans were sending encrypted messages with the Enigma. So the British they needed to figure out a way to like really quickly like decrypt these messages. So that's why Alan Turing came in and he's like, yeah, I have idea, guys, and so communication.
Yeah. This is it right here. It says like the ENICA.
Yeah, that was like one of the first like big computers,
IAC.
And that was like maybe 1950s ish or what?
1943. It wasn't complete until 1946 and occupied about 1,800 square feet.
Yeah, it was huge. So I mean, innovation-wise, like coming back from what Carter said about medicine and stuff, and like bubonic plague, I think I saw this graph once. Like you see at first, like human innovation was like flat, and then like exponentially increased.
And you see it like right around the Industrial Revolution.
Oh yeah, totally, and like
just right there.
So like another thing, with like how everything's like how fields are like being able to like cross work a lot more often and stuff. That's like a result of like the communication and stuff, and like one of the so first it was like the printing press, and another big milestone that also kicked it off was the phone, which was by Alexander Graham Bell, which was like in the late 1800s, I think.
Yeah. Was it late 1800s? It might have. Here we have Google right here. I think you might be right. Late 1800s. Here, let's look this up. First phone. Let's hope it's thinking of like old phone, not. Yeah, I think it's 1876. It said first telephone call, March 10th, 1876.
Right. So you got the first.
Yeah, Alexander Graham.
You got first phone 1870s. You get the first massive computational computer used for like computing ballistic missile or like missile trajectories in like what 1943 more or less, not complete until like what 1946.
Yeah.
Then after that you get the first personal computer in around the
70s or 80s.
1970s 80s with the Apple computer, and then like basically the main crusp of like the networking, internet, all that stuff happened around from like 1980s to 2000s. Not first like major internet stuff was 1990s.
Yeah.
So internet wide, so we went from throwing from messenger pigeons with papers to printing press and to phone to computers that were able to store lots of data to network computers to now where we can just Skype people and like have like conference calls with like people all over the world, and and that makes things a lot more simpler because like if you're trying to coordinate a war in America and you're the king of Britain, you're gonna have to send the letter over by ship, and that's gonna take at least a couple of months.
Yeah. See, and it's also with the community, it saves a lot of time, and foreign relations are so much better now. Like, you remember, it was like with JFK and the Russian...
The Cuban Missile Crisis?
Cuban Missile, I think it was Khrushchev at the time, right? Khrushchev. The only reason why there wasn't like an all-out war was simply because they had...
They had a landline.
Yeah,
they had like a line.
It was like a line or some phone, or... They had a way to communicate directly. If it wasn't for that, there would most likely be... I'm not going to say will be, because that's...
Well, there would be definitely a lot of more... There would like misconceptions.
Yes,
and
the
like
chance
messages.
for war would be a lot higher.
Because one translator might just translate it wrong, or...
Right. So you could have the conversation. It's like JFK says, hey, so this may surprise you, but the United States doesn't want to just drop a volley of missiles on Russia. And Khrushchev's like, oh, really? Same here, bro. I don't want to drop missiles on you either. So just that communication aspect makes foreign relations so much easier. And not just foreign relations, like between the industries. Because we see the actual industries, like when I say industries, I mean like the job fields and the different sciences and technology, wherever we're working. Like the technology of those changed, but then along with that, you see the need to communicate with one another change as well. Like Michael said, from the telegram, from the carrier pigeons and letters and ships, to the telegram, to the phone, and then it goes on up until where we are here.
Yeah, and there's positive and negative aspects of that. The positive aspect is like communication's a lot faster and stuff, and people who would never actually know the other people, they would actually be able to communicate, across the world and stuff. The negative aspect is like there's a lot of social. I don't use, not all the things I say is like official terms, but like I would say like social dissonance because like I think that this generation, especially like our generation with the teenagers I see and stuff.
Generation Z.
Like Generation Z, I guess.
I think we're Generation Z. I'm
like,
positive.
I mean, I guess I'm an old soul for saying this, but it's just like some of it seems dystopian, and maybe it's just because I've like looked back at older stuff to see the viewpoint, and as it changed. But like,
well, that's the thing. What if this is kind of dystopian in a way? Like, what if it is becoming like that?
Like, for example, Facebook is like trying to capture a lot of the internet. There are people who just, the first thing they do on their phones is open up Facebook, and they rarely leave Facebook. Like, they don't. Some people just. I mean, like,
yeah. Here, I can open up my phone. I have
a lot of people just get their news from Facebook.
Exactly. Here, let me pull it up right now. I have Facebook, the app. Let me just show. I really don't like Facebook for this reason. Not just because it's like an old person's app per se, but here, they've implemented a lot of different things from different sites. They've kind of stolen it in a way. You see they have the story feature, just like how Instagram has it. Snapchat also has the story feature. You can post articles on Facebook. Let me see if I can just like find an article really quick. I'm getting a lot of people posting things like here. Sky Zone puts out like ads through here. They have articles. There's like how to cook things in here. A bunch of different.
So, I mean, from one aspect, you can see it as being very informative, and you might, like, take away some really good stuff. You know, sickle and hammer type of thing that Carter just showed me. But, like, I feel like the negative aspect is, like, maybe you're seeing, like with the Facebook and Snapchat, maybe you're seeing a life of other people that, like, it could be yours, but it isn't, and it leads to some negative emotions. Like, I'm not saying that it's like all these apps are trying to turn us into like narcissistic people, but like, you know, you have
that's not their goal, but it seems to be a side effect because I think we can both agree by just like the direction of where we're talking. There's positives, and I think overall they outweigh the negatives just because we can communicate with one another.
Right.
But then there's the negatives, which are huge issues, and what you're saying with it's destroying our capability to socially communicate from face to face. It's not. I shouldn't say.
Yeah.
It's like it's destroying it, but not in a sense where we just can't talk and we're all like really really awkward around everybody. Like,
I mean, it's just weird because it's like, I mean, I'm like an introverted person because I spent like a lot of my like middle school years just like tinkering on the computer and stuff. But like I'm not trying to use computers as a scapegoat or like technology as a scapegoat, but like. Maybe I don't know, but like, but like, I feel like there should be a balance, and like that balance isn't like visibly. Nobody like the parents aren't saying it. You know, they're just saying, get off the internet, don't go on the internet too long. But like, it's like how long do you have to see other like girls like taking pictures of with their friends, you know, smiling and jumping and having a great time, yourself. You know, like. And then people are going to expect you, like, hey, why aren't you on Instagram? Why aren't you this? Do you have Instagram, this? And I'm like, sometimes it's great to have it, but, like, how much do you really want to share? And how much, and, like, you have to, like, and then you're, like, competing for likes and stuff to feel good. Because, and these are instincts in our head, too, because, like, we are kind of wired for that reward system.
Yeah.
And the companies know that. The companies know that when we get a ping on our phone, like, we have a reward system in our head, like, oh, ping, someone's like...
That's the thing. There is, like, something really... I completely agree with that. I can pull it up right now. There's something about, like... And it brings up this addiction almost. It's almost an addiction. You just have to check your phone. You don't have to open it up. You just have to check it really quick. You just have to look at the screen to see if someone's messaged you. You click on it, and I can see 5 pops up right there. 5 okay. I'm looking at my phone right now, and there'll be, like, messages or your emails, and it'll tell you how many of something that you have. 5 just popped up for Snapchat. I open up Snapchat and I see all of these, and you just want to click it so badly. You just want to click it, and it's almost an addiction, like you're saying, and it's something that you constantly have to check. And I think you're getting on to something when you say they're tapping into whether.
I mean, these things have been there since the dawn of time. Like, I mean, like I don't know, like Olympics and stuff. You would, like, pick up the local newspaper and you'd be like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen or what happens today and stuff. But, like, now we have our phones and it's more streamlined. So it's the feedback loop or that attention loop is, like, tighter. Mm-hmm. There's more stuff that's bringing you in and in over and over.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's also the fact that a lot of our work is on our phones. Like, our just actual work that we do. So it could be a genuine reason of getting on your phone. Why are you getting on your phone? It's because there's work on it. But then it's like you get from work, but then on the side of that you have like Snapchat, Instagram, all these different social media apps. And I think the two of those put together can be dangerous in a way. Not like directly dangerous, not going to harm your life. But I think a large part of what's changing, our species have spent such a long time just being in the woods and like farming and doing things outside and in nature. And I'm not telling people, oh, go outside and be a farmer, you'll be a lot happy. No, I'm not saying that. But there really is a difference in mood going outside compared to inside.
I mean, like, unless you're like allergic to pollen, I mean, or leaves, I mean, just
unless you're just allergic to sunlight
but like if you take your allergy medicine, I guess, and I mean, I'm not trying to target anyone particularly. I'm just saying
the few exceptions here.
Like, I'm just saying, like, if you just go outside and you walk in the forest, like, you're gonna tell a difference. You're gonna feel like it's gonna bring up your mood. And there's scientific studies that say that, going in for walks helps people think and
I
stuff.
can pull up a few, like, right now on my phone. And it's so interesting because you look at a lot of European countries, and there's just, I can't think of anything specifically right now. I do know CNN, fake news, but CNN gave out a report a while ago saying that the happiest country, I believe, this year was Finland. It's always those Norwegian countries. Is that the problem?
But they can go boating and stuff.
Yeah,
so they have
exactly.
a lot of fun things that they can do nature-wise.
And it's interesting because, and European countries are typically a lot higher as far as like how happy they are compared to America, and you wonder to yourself, like, why is this? Why are they just happier? Is it because they're just like there's something different in their politics, something different here? And I'm not saying it's only because they're going outside and doing things more active, but I do think this is a large part of it. Because when the foreign exchange students come over here, I remember my German teacher told me a story. He said the teacher came over here, and the first thing he wanted to do, he said, I want to go on a stroll. That's the vocabulary he used. I just want to go on a stroll.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, just want to do it through the woods. Just like nice, easy. Just go on a stroll through the woods, and then afterwards, I want to go to the botanical gardens. That's what he says. And my German teacher's like, really? You don't want to, like, go to Six Flags and, like, go see a movie or something like that? And he's like, no, I just want to go on a stroll. And it gives you an idea. They have a completely different idea of what fun and enjoyment is. In Europe, overall they do. There's exceptions, but overall they have a different concept of enjoyment than we do. Their idea is going outside and actually doing something and moving. That's what they get as their concept of fun and enjoyment. Then when you look at a lot of what Americans are doing, it's like, you go to school, I hate school, I'm just going to go check Snapchat and play on my phone all class. And then they get home, I hate my life, I'm just going to go in my basement, turn on the TV and veg out eating nachos and cheese and whatever. And then they just do that over and over. They live their entire life inside of the internet.
Right, and keep in mind that, like, me and Carter, we're like the same age as these people, and we're just like, we've realized these patterns, and we realized, like, the type of structure that we're kind of in, and you can't, and it, like, I'm glad that I can talk to Carter about this because, like, he understands that there's this underlying structure and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, like, it just requires a lot of just kind of stepping back or some, like, just even meditation or something, just to, like, realize that there's this underlying thing that's happening, because, like, you tell some person who's, like, really ingrained into this, like, American society and the trends and stuff, and you say I don't really want to check Snapchat, and they'll look at you they'll look at you and, like,
judge you.
Like, they judge you, and they'll be like, wait, what?
They judge you so much. I know this, I caught myself doing it to one kid, and so I told you about this earlier, but he has a flip phone still. Like, he has one of those flip phones, not a smartphone.
I had a flip phone too, as well. So
right.
Anyway,
he still has one though, and they're like closing down a lot of those lines for flip phones because they're old now. People are using smartphones, and I caught myself doing it. I was like, oh, I literally said that. I said that out loud. I said, hey, can I get your Snapchat? Because I asked him if he had a phone. He said, yeah. And I said, do you have Snapchat? And he's like, no. And he pulled out his phone and shows it. It's a flip phone. I'm like, oh. I say that out loud. Oh. And I don't mean to be, like, judging him. But I really did. Like, I judged him.
Like, because we just, like, if we feel like Snapchat's fun and stuff, and then we see that, and it's like, that seems like a sad thing.
And I really do believe that people need technology, but I think there's a difference. I think there's a balance. You have to have it in your life, but don't have it outweighing sunlight.
Oh, man. It feels like maybe it's like a drug of choice in a sense that, like, I don't know. I saw this one thing and, like, they took away, like, it's like, you have no internet, and it was like high school students. And it's like, you have no internet for 48 hours. You can't use internet for 48 hours. No devices, whatever. do whatever, just not those things. And like some people were not like maybe 2 people were able to get by because they were like reading a book or something, but a lot of people had like panic attacks, anxiety, and all this other stuff. And it's like, isn't that similar to like drug withdrawal type of thing? You know,
that's really interesting, and it's kind of, I really had my moment that this was a while ago too. This is like this is almost a year ago, when I realized that I need to start doing more things outside and involving actual physical activity, and starting to separate myself a little bit more from my phone. There was a power outage just for a little bit, and it was for about an hour. And I was sitting there in my house for about an hour wondering, what do I do? I just sat there. I didn't know what to do. I was like, well, I guess I just wait for the power to come back on. But then after 15 minutes, I was bored. And I was like, what do I do right now? I don't have technology or internet or even power. What do I do? And I was like, wait a minute. Isn't there like something called nature? I think I read about this online somewhere. Here, let me go Google it. Oh, wait, I don't have my phone. I can't Google what's going on. So it took a moment to realize that without technology, I really didn't have anything just to directly do with myself. I couldn't think of something immediately to, I don't have technology. Oh, I'm just going to read a book, or I'm going to go outside, or I'm going to play basketball, or I'm going to do this or that. The only thing I could think of is, when's the power coming back on? When am I going to get Wi-Fi again? When am I going to get Google and YouTube and social media? And I think people need to really simplify their lives a little bit more up until they could actually do things without Wi-Fi.
I think it's just like I mean, it's great that with this technology we can like afford to have other luxuries as well, you know, time to go to the park and stuff, because productivity has increased and stuff, and like, you know, work week has shortened by, like, it used to be what, I think 5-day work week wasn't always a thing, like when was that?
It used to be like Sunday is the only day off.
Right.
And that's just because of church.
And then, so going even farther back, so what year was it? It was like, I think maybe it was Great Depression, you know, or something, right? Like the child labor laws, for example, you know, there was like children working in factories for like, I don't know, who knows how long, but like they were making like very little pay and stuff, and like people would get hurt, and you know they didn't have any coverage because they were children or something. But like, it's great that we have like inventions that make most of those processes automated and stuff, but like at what cost is there like the human balance and stuff, and then like the technology thing? Because like,
I agree,
there is the human computer symbiosis theory, but you know, like at the point where, or more like a better term, singularity, you know, like where we're just so, like, technology is so integrated in our lives that like we can just like, I know, like, or artificial intelligence surpasses us, or like something like that, where like we're just so connected with technology, it's kind of hard to differentiate what's like biological, what's not. But like it's I feel like our biological systems are kind of being abused by certain aspects of like technology, and it's like really hurting us like in the long term. Like we don't realize it right now, but like 10 years down the road, you're sitting on your phone, and it's sad. Like, I mean, I personally feel like it's sad that some people never come to the realization. I'm glad that I've came to it, because like I used to be like really addicted to games and like a lot of stuff, but like now I like, you know, I read the news maybe, and then I spend most of my time like maybe like building something, and then I try to just spend some like additional time just reading a book or like meditating and stuff, because we're watching a movie, because like just hitting it on the social media and stuff like that, like to what point are you're not connected to the rest of the world, like the real world, like just like the stories, and like just like being aligned with your like yourself, and what you actually want.
Yeah, and in like the past, which it brings up like when we're talking about like the Industrial Revolution, when we're talking about the 1920s, when we're talking about the telegram or all these different inventions, there's some level of face-to-face human interaction with that. And now technology and the way that we communicate, it's gotten up into a point where a lot of it isn't face-to-face. Skype is an exception, but with Snapchat, with Instagram, with Messenger, whatever app or social media technology, it takes away the part where you actually have to see someone else's face and talk to them. It takes away so much of that. Like if I had to think like what was the last time someone called me compared to when was the last time someone texted me. Someone probably texted me on my phone just a second ago. It wouldn't surprise me at all. But like last time someone called me was like a month ago. With our social media now, it takes away that part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the last time someone actually, like, a person my age at least called me, I think that was at least a couple months back.
Right.
So
it brings up the idea we're taking away that part because let's face it, humans really are social animals. Mm-hmm. But the issue is that this social media isn't real. It's almost a fake. It's real, but it
sometimes feels like a fake paradise.
Yes, you don't get the same satisfaction. If you say that you get the same satisfaction having a conversation with someone over a social media app compared to face, you're either lying to yourself or
you just never, or maybe you just haven't had that feeling of having a regular face-to-face.
Yeah, or maybe you haven't had a conversation.
Because like some people, like there's probably like 7-year-olds who are they're basically born into this like technological age of all this stuff. Like they'd have no idea how it was like, 2005 type of thing.
Exactly.
Or like, like that type of
we're the age like end of we're like we're almost millennials but not quite. We're just in Generation Z. Mm-hmm. So if you look at how we first grew up, the first couple years, we didn't really have iPhones or iPads or technology directly in our lives. It wasn't until like the mid 2000s, not mid 2000s, but within the first decade of the 2000s, it was only like in 2005, 2006 when we started even seeing smartphones really, or starting seeing this technology. And then obviously as the years went on, we started seeing more and more of it. By the time that it's 2011, 2012, that's when we actually started to really be introduced to this new technology. We saw computers, but we didn't really see that.
Well, I had a computer, but like I wasn't using it every day. I had a brother, so I usually either spent a lot of time playing with him, or like reading a book, or just like watching something on TV, vegging out, I guess.
Yeah.
But like,
it was
like I more or less spent most of the time like walking in my neighborhood, like seeing the nature and stuff.
Yeah, and that's the reason why we're pointing this out. We're not just pointing it out just to tell stories. We're getting at the fact that we had a period of time where we understood what it was like to have to talk to someone if you needed something. We didn't have a phone to where we could just like go to like text a message to get what we needed or to communicate. We actually had to talk to one another. Now it's not uncommon to see a 4-year-old on an iPad in the park. They're sitting at the park. They're not on the swings, not on the playset. They're at a park with an iPad and they're playing a game. And it's so sad. And I do this often. I do this sometimes. I stopped doing it within about 2 months ago. I stopped. I used to wake up first thing in the morning and check my phone. I think that's the worst thing someone could possibly do because the first things, it's an addiction. It's a drug at that point. You're waking up and the first thing you need to see is if you got any notifications on your phone. And that's very toxic and it's almost forcing you to live your whole life in social media.
Yeah. So that's the point. The viewpoint of those like the social media and the internet stuff. And there's communities and stuff, but like at some point you kind of do want to have that face-to-face communication, like I don't know. I mean, for me, like I'll eventually get the feeling like this is fake. I need to get outside or something. And I mean, some people have that, other people's don't. Like, they're just so used to it and stuff. And I mean, I guess it's the nature versus nature. I mean, nature versus nurture. Like, what have you? I mean, how have you like communicated with your parents? Like, what have they taught you? Like, how have you grown up? You know, the type of environment you grew up. Was it like small or big? You know, type of thing. Those types of things. But
Yeah, and
yeah.
this what it's also doing is it's kind of taking the environment factor out of a lot of that, because when you are just on your phone, it's almost as if it's bringing you to like a different world, or into, I'm not like, not literally in that sense, but it's distracting you from what's going on around you, and it can also give you a sense of you don't appreciate what's around you in like the real world. It's kind of like a video game. You go into a video game and it's just a fake world that you're playing, and that's why a lot of video games can be fun. But then once you leave that video game, you have to just face reality. I think if we start taking kids from the age of 4 and giving them this fake world and forcing them to grow up with it, once they have to put down the iPad or put down the phone or close the laptop, once they have to start doing that, they have to deal with the real world.
And then they're gonna get like the withdrawal like effects. I think
Yeah.
that's what I would think that would happen.
Yeah, exactly. And it's because if you're constantly checking your phone or constantly on Snapchat or some social media or doing something like that, or even just playing video games, if you're constantly doing that, it kind of alienates you from what's going on around in your environment, so you don't know how to get used to it.
And I mean like from a more of like a philosophical thing, like there's the argument that like the whole like life itself is a simulation and stuff, because like we've gotten better at like simulating like early stages of the universe and stuff, but like we're not I guess we're not like
There,
close, but like
we're closer.
we're getting better with our simulation technology. I'm not sure when we would ever reach a point where we could like simulate the beginning of the universe particle stuff. That would take lots of like power and storage and stuff.
It could take I'm gonna say 50 years from now, it wouldn't surprise me if we did have that technology.
I mean, it really depends if like, so there's this one thing in computer science and like in computers in general, it's called Moore's law. It's where every 1.5 year or every 2 years, processing power doubles, right? Mm-hmm. And this was like, I think it was established 1970s, 1980s, something like that. And like so far, it's been following that pattern. But like I feel like that I think that doubling time has been getting longer and stuff. So like I think we might reach a plateau. Like I mean, there's a point where you can't like you're just basic physics and volume stuff. Like there's gonna be a point where you can't shove any more processing power into a specific space, because like you're gonna be dealing with like quantum physics, like improbabilities and stuff, and like you're not gonna be able to say for certain if a computation actually occurred or not, or you're gonna get like really funky results. So, I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, unless we like, and I'm not like really ingrained into like knowing how like what the theoretical limit is, but like you would have to hope that there's a limit or something, or I don't know, but we could possibly get there, and that's the scary part. Like once we get there, people could possibly like live their whole entire lives in a simulated world where people are being like, I'm being like conspiracy theory, but like people are like always being fed messages for like their ears, or something. Yeah. Like they have a little thing, and they always like they grow up their whole entire life with a second voice in their head or something. I mean, like
it really does bring fear, because it's not only okay. First off, if you disagree with this part, because there's going to be some people that disagree with this idea, but it's just true with the way that we're heading. What I'm about to say is true. And Michael can agree with this. We've talked a little bit about this before. Technology is advancing in a way to where we are so connected with it. If someone offered us a brain chip or something that you could actually physically put in your body to connect us to technology even more now, there would be a lot of people that would say, yeah, just put the chip in my head. Yeah, just put the technology in me. I just want it because it's even more convenient. My point is, it's going to actually become integrated into our bodies.
Oh yeah, there's definitely going to be a point when that's going to happen. I don't know how much of a struggle it is going to be with like the ethical like morality standpoint,
right?
But there's definitely going to be people like there's people even now who are like willing to put RFID, like they do it to themselves. They do self body modification. They put RFID tags in their hands and in their arms and stuff, or even magnets.
Yeah, it could even just be. Yeah, like that's the idea. People do it to themselves. As long as it's not being forced, there wouldn't be like an ethical issue because people would voluntarily have it put into.
Watch it be as like simple as like a circumcision type of thing. Do you want to have your do you want your son to have a brain chip in his head? Yes or no? Exactly. And it's like a checkbox.
And
oh man, that would be scary.
Exactly. So it could become as simple as that one day, and it's not that far away. You already see it with the Apple Watch. I thought the Apple Watch was dumb up until I saw someone live streaming a basketball game to their Apple Watch. So they're watching basketball with their wristwatch, and then they're like checking and then they have a calendar on their phone, and they're putting events in with their calendar. So it's like you're watching the game right here, and then they have it on the big TV. So they're going over into the other room. Really quick. And they don't want to miss the game, so they have it on their watch, and then they're like doing work on their phone. So it's getting to the point where if you said, hey, there's these glasses that you can put on, people are going to say yes. Then it's like, hey, there's like this ear chip you can put in. People are going to say yes. It's like, hey, you can have better teeth now, and your teeth can tell you if you just like put these
smart teeth.
See, it just gets more and more up until there's going to be brain chips.
I mean, like I've been thinking about it maybe a couple months now. I've been thinking about like maybe writing some sort of balancing system for myself, like either like a written set of rules or like a program that says like, hey Michael, you should probably ease off right now, because it's like how much human stuff do I have to. How much human behavior do we have to obscure away, or is like being mutated as a result of technology?
Yeah.
Like because of this information that's propagating, like, and how it's being mixed with misinformation and stuff. Like people are having like, and like I'm not trying to like be controversial about it, but like I feel like some people are having mixed ideals, and like they're not being based off of real fact and like real like some of them just don't make sense. Maybe I'm being
subjective.
There's a lot of subjective stuff, but
yeah, it brings up the whole idea though, like with all of what you were just mentioning about the negatives and what we talked about earlier with the negatives. People adjust their phones, and it can become a negative really with our phones if we're not using them wisely or properly. It can get to the point where our phones become toxic, social media becomes toxic. And this like actually put into our bodies like brain chips. That's a point where I can leave my phone at home. I can leave my laptop closed and my Apple Watch off. I don't have an Apple Watch though. Mm-hmm. If it's in my body, I can't escape it.
And if it's a corrupted piece of technology, you could be setting yourself up, or society could be setting itself up to be stuck in a fixed mindset where like we're only seeing this one version of reality, and we're not being able to imagine or be creative. Because, and this is specifically in Facebook. I'm sorry I'm bashing on Facebook, but like in Facebook.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Sorry, Mark, but there's like, I think there was like this one like really, this controversial stuff, or not even, it was just happening a couple months back about how like the Facebook was being like biased towards like rightist news or like conservative news or something. Or something about that. Like, it's like these social algorithms, some of them are just becoming feedback loops where people are like, someone who's just mildly conservative, who subscribes to some conservative stuff, they're just being fed more and more of it, and it validates their own opinion. Yeah. So they'll never, like, they might not ever see something that...
cookies. You know about cookies or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
By the way, if you don't know what cookies are, your social media apps basically can tell what you like to read or see, so it gives you
Facebook has... Sorry, Facebook. But, like...
Google has it, too.
Right, but... So you have these things, and it just, like... some technology and software is good at keeping people open-minded, and others is like it just never shows you the news that you possibly might want to look at, because and you just get locked into this one viewpoint, and then when you ever and this also adds on to this face-to-face communication. If you never meet someone face-to-face and you always use Snapchat and all your friends are like similar, then like you're just gonna be living in this one fixed mindset. You're losing a lot of room for being open-minded and being able to imagine and be creative and think of like what potential things could be different and how would it actually just benefit everybody in general. So like that's like the corruption in some technology and social media and stuff, is like you have those feedback loops and you only see what you want to see. Sometimes
it brings that danger into it, because if we really are going to take it into literally putting these things into our body, like integrating into our body, it becomes something that we literally can't escape, especially if we alienate ourselves from other humans with social media.
And what if it's like a big company like Facebook or Google, and just slowly over like a time period of 10 years, it just slowly gets corrupt. Its ideals get slowly corrupted, and all of a sudden we're living in a dystopian mindset. We're like thinking, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, and like, oh, we must buy Chex Mix because it is good, type of thing.
Exactly. It would bring in the idea, if you are only seeing one point of view, and I don't know about you, but if you learning, there's difference between book learning and face-to-face learning. I think book learning, and I'm saying book learning, not literally books, but using the internet in this case. So if you're Googling things and reading articles and such, you can learn a lot really quick. But there's something different between that and actually learning about things face-to-face. It's so easy to just read studies about different people, about different things, about different sciences. But until you actually meet those people face-to-face, see those things in person, it's a completely different experience.
And I mean, it's really a matter of how you're fed that information. If you're fed that information by actual people, they're going to have a lot of experiences, and they're going to be able to tell you these things. And if you're talking in a group, they're all going to have different opinions.
Yeah,
hopefully, unless you're in part of some like hate group or something.
Yeah, that's exactly. You see the thing. Social media can make it easy for us to communicate with one another, but there seriously needs to be like a sarcasm font that we can use during texting, like an angry font for texting, different fonts, because it's so easy to have misconceptions when you're sending each other messages without seeing each other face to face. Because when you're seeing each other face to face, you can make gestures and talk in different ways. But with social media, it alienates a lot of that.
And the thing with most of social media, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, they're trying to optimize for you spend the most time on their app or website.
Yeah.
So they're going to optimize their algorithm, their social ranking, prioritizing, whatever you call it, so that way you're on their website for longer periods of time.
Like what Facebook did.
Because then you're being fed more ads, then the company makes more money, And so you're not, I guess there might be a couple exceptions, but the company's rarely going to do something that's going to benefit the people and not, like,
they're greedy in a sense.
Some of them are going to be greedy to a certain extent, and like this is why I'm an advocate for like open source or free software. Like Wikipedia, I really love Wikipedia.
Me too.
There's some stuff that Wikipedia might get messed up as, but I really hope that Wikipedia will remain free, like in the future, because like most of the time, like there's no algorithm that's like shoving you like feminist, or I'm not bashing on feminists, but it's not like Wikipedia is like a feminist news information
or
thing
like
where
an alt-right organization, right, or a libertarian or Democrat or Republican.
It's moderate. Like when you read an article, most of the time it's gonna be informative, and it's not gonna put you into some sort of like leftist or rightist mindset. Hopefully.
Yeah. And that's the danger with technology is being integrated into us, because it gets into the point where you could easily stray away from like sites like Wikipedia. I'm not saying Wikipedia is like the best thing in the world, but from this really I'm trying to think of the word to describe it. Modest or neutral way of thinking, you could move so quickly far away from that and close to something that's alt-right or alt-left or whatever. Or whatever way of thinking is out there, and you could get stuck in it. And then if you're alienated from humans, like social media has done with a lot of people, and there's no way of getting rid of the social media because it's literally a chip in our head or something like that. Once that happens, there's no way for us to escape it unless we deliberately look up the opposite.
So I think it's going to get, with each generation, it's going to get harder and harder to break out of loop and like look back and say, you know, this movie or this thing actually says a lot about how the world actually is, you know, physically, without all this filters and Snapchat filters and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So, well, I think that's a pretty good length for our first pilot episode.
How long have we been going?
I don't know, at least a good hour.
Yeah, we can figure it out, like, once we pause it and everything. We should probably do, like, an outro first. We like to read our sponsors. We don't have sponsors. That's
just
a joke.
Big shout out to our personal finance teacher for giving us the free time to just eventually formulate the idea to do a podcast and stuff. Big thanks to our high school for being sometimes boring to give us time for talking about some stuff, and big thanks to the world for having a lot of a variety of issues, I guess, and not being a boring, like...
Absolutely.
Yeah, so...
And also, we're planning on starting Michael already has a blog. You can do a shout out for that if you want to.
Oh, yeah. Check out my blog at medium.com/Mechasparrow. And yeah, my internet handle is Mechasparrow. Just Google it, I guess. Do you want any?
I don't have any shout outs for myself, but we could start our own blog together if we wanted to.
Oh, yeah, that would be fun. I think we might also want to do transcripts. But so that's it for the pod. Thanks for listening to the first episode of Hammercircuit. Hopefully, if this goes well, we might start doing this as like maybe like a repeating thing. So
yeah.
All right. Thanks.